Hello and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I have made something that I don't think I've ever made before. I've seen my mum make it a few times in the past, and I just fancied making it today. It's called malfouf, or I guess malfouf betinjan, because I guess malfouf, I found out today, it refers specifically to like stuffed cabbage, so kind of like dolma, like the vine leaves, but instead of the vine leaves, cabbage. But I've made this one with aubergine. If you've seen my other videos, you'll already know that I'm obsessed with aubergine, and it's stuffed with rice and a whole bunch of veggies, which you will see very soon. And then I've got like a tomato sauce on top of it, and it's just been in the oven. So yeah, I really hope that you enjoy the video, and yeah, let me know what you think. Okay, hello lovely people. Just a couple of quick wee disclaimers before I get into the voiceover for the actual recipe. Basically I only used 2 aubergines, but I'm actually going to change that in the written recipe because 3 would have been perfect for the amount of hashu, i.e. stuffing, filling, and also it would have been perfect to fill the tray because, as you'll see later, it wasn't fully filled, so it just would have been nice to fill it up a little bit. And also I actually used uncooked rice that I had soaked, because I mean, I'm sure I've seen mom make it like that before and it's cooked in the oven, but maybe I'm mistaken because it came out pretty underdone. So even though I'm using uncooked rice for the video that I've just soaked, I'm actually going to put in the written recipe to use cooked rice. So just pretend when you're watching that part of the video that the rice is actually cooked before I've put it into the oven, you know, wrapped in the aubergine. So yeah, just a couple of quick disclaimers, and yeah, enjoy the recipe. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a whole bunch of beautiful veggies and herbs for this recipe. As always, I'm going to have the full written recipe in the description, so don't worry if you miss anything. It doesn't have to be, just for the record, it doesn't have to be these specific vegetables, obviously apart from the aubergine, but in terms of the stuffing, you can kind of switch it up depending on what veggies you like. But these are just the ones I chose to use. Obviously onion is a good base for many dishes, so I'm just going in with some white onion here. I'm clearly struggling to chop it because it was a bit slippery. I think I need to get a sharper knife. Anyway, so I've just got this onion that I'm just chopping. You want to, or I would suggest trying to chop it pretty finely, even finer than how I'm chopping it here, kind of like tabbouleh style, if you've ever made tabbouleh. Yeah, just because I find that works nicely for the filling, so you're not getting big chunks, and just so that everything cooks nicely in the oven. And then I've got these spring onions here. Again, it just kind of depends what you have. I just had these array of onions in the house, so I just thought I'd use one of each for some variation. These big red ones we just got from Lidl, just FYI. They're quite nice to use and salads and stuff as well, so I'd recommend them. So yeah, again, just chopping that up. Obviously it's easier to get the spring onions chopped finely, and then just the little green parts as well. The nice thing about spring onions as well is that obviously you're getting the onion, but then you're getting a bit of greens in as well, so that's why I like to use them for things like this. And then I've just got my tomato here. I'm just going to use 1 tomato. I know there was a bunch of tomatoes on the tray, but those are for the sauce, and I'm just using 1 for the actual filling, stuffing, and again, just kind of trying to get that like tabbouleh style fine. And then I've just got this courgette here. This is just quite a wee small one, but again, like I said, you can switch it up. You can use peppers as well, or instead, but I just find courgette to be a nice addition to the filling here because it's quite soft, so it cooks quite nicely in the oven as well. So yeah, I'm just chopping that pretty finely, just like the other veggies. Just transferring everything to a bowl, and then I'm just gonna set that aside while I chop up the herbs. So again, with the herbs, it's really up to you, just kind of depending on what you like. I'm of course going to be using some parsley because I love parsley. I actually ended up adding a little bit more than this. I'd say it was more like a large handful rather than just this wee bit here. And again, I'm just gonna go over it a few times to get it really nice and fine. And then we had some dill handy in the house, so again I'm just adding that in as well. Yeah, so if you like dill, I'd recommend it. It adds a really nice lovely freshness to this, but I personally don't like too much, so I just added a little bit. As I will continue to say, it's all about your preference and your taste, so of course if you like it, go ahead and add some more. If you don't like it, if you like it but not too much like me, just add in a small bit like this. And again, I showed the rice here to show that I had soaked it for just about an hour, and I guess it's good for you to kind of see what kind of rice I'm using. It's this kind of short grain type of, it's this Iranian rice called Timon Amber apparently, but to be honest I wouldn't really recommend it because it's quite expensive. I think just normal basmati rice would work just as well. So whatever white rice you like, and like I said at the beginning, just pretend the rice is cooked at this point. You could even use some, like if you've got some leftover from the previous day, or of course you could just cook it fresh and use it. And then I'm just going to be adding a bunch of flavourings to the rice and veggies at this point. I'm just mincing in a clove of garlic first of all. And then apologies, I don't know why I thought that this was the right way around, but clearly it's not, it's like to the side. Anyway, as you can see clearly, it's just some tomato paste. I don't know why I'm using a teaspoon, because it's about maybe half a tablespoon to a tablespoon that I'm adding in here. And then again, apologies that it's to the side, but I've got some tamarind here. I would say that, so I personally like things quite citrusy, and this did turn out quite citrusy, which, as I have said, I like. But if you don't like things to be too kind of sour or citrusy, I would recommend adding a little bit less of each tamarind and pomegranate molasses that you'll see me adding in a little bit. I ended up adding again about half a tablespoon to a tablespoon of this, as well as of pomegranate molasses, as you can see here. I've said before in other videos when I've used this, I'd recommend probably getting the squeezy bottle because I struggle a little bit with the glass, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, yeah, like I said, if you don't like it to be too tart or too sour, I'd recommend adding a little bit less of each, or maybe you could just use one rather than the other if you have a preference. And then of course this is optional, I'm just adding in some dried chili flakes. You could use some fresh chili instead, whatever you like really. Yeah, we can't handle too much spice in this household, so it's just a wee bit, maybe like half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. And of course I'm adding in some salt, a good bit of salt, just to make sure that everything is seasoned really nicely, because obviously we've got quite a lot going on here. Some black pepper. I don't always add black pepper to things, it just kind of depends how I'm feeling. I'll maybe throw it in there sometimes, so yeah, if you like black pepper, obviously go ahead and add in some of that as well. And then you want to add in some oil at this point. I'm just using olive oil, like the kind of cooking style olive oil. And then, as you can see, I'm just giving everything a really good mix. It always looks really beautiful at this point, in my opinion. But yeah, so I'm just giving this a good mix, and then I'm just going to set it aside while I prepare the aubergine. So for the aubergine, like I said at the beginning, I've got 2 here, but I'd suggest using 3, just depending on how much you want to make, but for the amount of filling. And I'm actually just going to peel the aubergine. I'm going to get rid of the skin. And then, as you can see, I'm just slicing this into kind of strips. You want to get this pretty thin, but not so thin that it's gonna just tear once you take it out of the oil, because we're going to be frying this. And I'll show you in a wee second the kind of thinness, whatever, that you should roughly try and aim for. So that one's pretty perfect. That's like a good size, good thickness. So yeah, just do what you can, as long as you can get pretty close to that. And then at this point I'm just going to heat up the oil. As you can see, I'm just using sunflower oil. You could use whatever you like, and I've just got it on a high heat, so I'm just going to let that heat up until the oil gets pretty hot. And then I'm just salting the aubergine, and then I'm just going to kind of mix it about. And you could like set this aside for like 10-15 minutes and let the moisture extract, but to be honest, I didn't really do that because I'm lazy, I guess. But yeah, I just kind of started frying it straight away. I think that's fine as well, to be honest. So yeah, just adding it in here. You can see the sizzle of the oil. And I basically fried these on each side for around maybe 3 to 4 minutes on each side, basically until they're golden but not too browned.
You can just see it tilts a bit more golden.
Yeah. And you can see here they've become quite golden brown. To be honest, I'd say even a little bit less than this is perfect, but you'll see at the end how I got most of them to be in colour. And then while the aubergine was frying, I just prepared the sauce. So yeah, I'm just using fresh tomatoes. You could use a can if you prefer, or if that's all that you have. And I'm just popping them into my little chopper. To be honest, my chopper was playing tricks today. It wasn't working out for some reason, so I ended up just blending the tomatoes instead. Just use whatever you have, that's fine. And then I didn't add any oil or anything. I just added this straight to the pot. I mean, do I need to add oil really when I'm frying all the aubergine? So yeah, I just kind of cooked it straight up without any oil. Just added them to the pot on high heat, and then I just filled the bottle up with some water to get kind of the remnants of the tomato that was around the blender, and just stuck that in there. It was about 100 milliliters or so of water, because you want this to be pretty thin, because obviously it's going to thicken up as we put it in the oven. So yeah, and I'm adding just about, it ended up being pretty much about a tablespoon of tomato paste, and then I'm just going to give that a wee mix. And basically after this, I just put the lid on. I let it boil for about 10 to 15 minutes or so, and then I just seasoned it with a little bit of salt. I kept it super simple because obviously all of the flavour you know, was in the rice stuffing thing. And then after I let it boil, I just brought it down to a simmer, so number 2, for around 15 minutes or so, just while I was kind of preparing everything else. And then as you can see, I've got my little station here for stuffing the aubergine. I'm just adding in a good bit of that filling in, wrapping it round as best I can. Obviously when the aubergine is fried, it's pretty soft and greasy, so be prepared for a bit of to be a bit messy, but that's fine. Yeah, and I'm just adding them into my baking dish. As you saw, I'm just adding them kind of like facing up, but you could put them in like facing down, doesn't matter too much. So yeah, I'm just getting a good bit of that filling in, maybe around a tablespoon, wrapping it up as best as I can. Wow, look at that gloss from the grease. Yeah, and I'm just sticking that in there. And then at this point, see, that's all the juices from like the veggies and the tamarind and all of those beautiful flavours. I'm just gonna add in the tomato sauce on top. So that's the ملفوف betinjan, all made and looking beautiful. I really hope that you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for watching. And yeah, not much else to say. See you in the next one. Bye.